Hey guys, I won the European Championship Edison tournament in Berlin. I don't have the giant card on me because it was left at the venue due to the evacuation that happened with the box that went off. Luckily I was able to borrow the second place giant card for the picture, for the coverage, but the giant card in its actual size will be mailed to me by Konami in afterhand. That's about it. It's been a very good event. Every opponent was very kind and nice. I didn't have anyone that was rude or off-putting in that kind of way. It was a very nice event. It wasn't ran the best. It was delayed on the Saturday, but it not being the main event, I can understand why everyone's attention was focused on the main event and trying to get everyone entered in, as there was a lot of people in the venue wanting to play the main event that had an invite but weren't able to get a ticket in time, so there was probably a lot of rush from that. But yeah, eventually everything was solved and we played our 8 rounds and top 8, and I ended up first place. And this is my list. So for the monsters, it's the free Sirocco, free Shura, free Bora, free Kalut, free Blizzard, 1 Gale and 2 Vayu. I played the second Vayu just because I want more targets of Shura and Whirlwind in the grind game. But it's usually a card you can take out when you're playing as the faster decks or when you expect Shura not to resolve, because they have a lot of battle traps, like the Mirror Match for example. And the 1 Dark Arm Dragon. For the spells, it's 2 Whirlwind, Allure, Raincon, Space and Heavy. Pretty typical. No Mindcon because I didn't think it was good enough, since you can't attack or tribute it off, so there's a lot of cards that you can take in the format, like if they bluff set of value, you don't want to Mindcon that. But it's definitely a consideration if there's an uptick in value. Currently I expected a lot of Blackwings and Frogs, and I don't want Mindcon against either of those. 4 draw traps, I felt it was a perfect ratio for this event, still enough to where people have to respect your back rows, because not everyone's playing 6 of them. There's people who play 2, 3 and 4, so if you set 2, they can expect a draw trap, but they're probably not expecting 2 of them, so they still have to respect your back rows, and you can enter a grind game that way, which is the purpose of these. By prolonging the game, you see Whirlwind faster because they have to respect your back rows, because they overcommit into Mirror Force TT or Icarus, they end up losing too many cards, so you're able to bluff real cards and play on that way. And I felt 4 was the perfect ratio because I don't want to draw a draw trap off a draw trap. I don't mind seeing 2 in the opening hand. It's just that when you hold this a couple turns and then you use it and you see more draw traps, you have to wait another turn for your push. A lot of people think you use this card incorrectly. They either hold it too long or they use it too quickly. You really need to read your opponent and look at your own hand and figure out when to use it, because if you use it too early and you don't draw a trap, they can capitalize off of that and push through because they know that your back row is now a bluff. If you use it too late, you may get into a point where they've established too much of a field and then you draw cards that are reactionary, like Bottomless TT, and they end up not doing enough. So that's a big skill of these cards, knowing exactly when to use them and when to hold them. I think there's a lot of people who make a mistake on that, but these cards are very powerful. It just creates such a mind game for the opponents. Free Icarus, 2 Bottomless, free Prison, Mirror, Torrential and Dust Shoot. It's pretty typical. Some people only play 2 of this, but I like free because it's always good to draw into established fields, always good to open with, and helps you survive longer. No Judgment because I didn't want to be paying 4k. Even if I can stop a power play or I can push through my power play and maybe win off of that, that's such a niche scenario where, comparing it to the hands where you open with Solemn and you don't really want to set it turn 1 because you don't want to Solemn a heavy, or you don't want to Solemn an early play because you don't want to pay 4k, you'd rather use it later in the game, then it just ends up becoming one of these other cards similar to that, where you want to draw it late game but not early game, and that can cause you to lose because you have too many cards that are dead the first couple turns. And the issue with Solemn is that it's not a power card. It doesn't win you the game on its own. You need to pair it with either a push, or you've already done a push and then you can prevent them from stopping your board, and your push on the next turn. So I didn't think it was good enough to play in the deck, especially in this kind of format we're in right now, with Amaryllis being popular and Frogs being popular. I didn't want Solemn. For the extra deck, it's 1 Android, 1 Catastor, 2 Armed Wing, Rio, Goyo, 2 Armor, Black Rose, Dark End, Fog Ruler, Colossal, Silverwind, Stardust, and Mistworm. Don't really need to say much about this. Some people cut this one to play the Chimera Tech, but I didn't play Sidra, so there was no point in having Chimera Tech. I didn't expect people to be bad enough to leave a Machine and a Sidra against Blackwings. So I could never contact use of their cards only. It'd have to be my own Sidra. And the second one of this never came up, but it would have been nice if it came up to have it, because I played 2 Vayus, so it's theoretically possible to make the second one. The side deck is the only part of the deck where I have some unique cards that most people haven't played. I really had to take a gander and look at the meta and figure out why Blackwings hasn't won a Ultimate Time Wizard yet. It's the only deck who hasn't won one out of the top 3. And I think the issue is the people who are playing it, at least in the US, they're not adapting their decks to beat what the meta is. So with Amaryllis popping up, sure, it's a good matchup because you can pierce the Amaryllis, but if they summon Titanial and you get into a game where they're able to push you down, you can't win off of damage because they're the ones being you with damage, since they're burning you every time you attack all the other guys, and the Amaryllis is just too much to deal with. So a card I figured was good against that matchup is Banisher, because if they have Amaryllis and Titanial, you can go summon Banisher, swing over the Amaryllis, it gets banished, so you don't take 800, and they lose the resource. And instead of playing cards like Free Prison and a lot of other trap cards, I can just prison their Titanial to save my Banisher, and they still have to deal with the Banisher. It turning off cards like Hidden Armory becomes a lot worse. Mark of the Rose, if they don't have any way to get plants into graveyard beforehand I drop this, it's dead. Even cards like Raikou become worse because they have to pop the Banisher, so your Whirlwind or Shura is safe from their pops. Yeah, big fan of this card. Also comes in against the Recruiter decks. 2 pros, pretty obvious for the graveyard decks where you want to hold cards in your hand, so if they use a sweeper, you can then crow their push against like Zombies, Dragon Turbo, and the like. 1 system down for Machina. I still wanted something for the deck in case I play it, and system down is very good because it plays around their other cards, like if they compulse back their Gear Frame against your Sidra, so you can't fuse, and then they summon Gear Frame to search and then fuse over your Sidra. This plays around that because it also takes their graveyard, so their Avarice is worse and their grind game becomes worse too. Also, they can't like bottom the Sidra either because you're not summoning Sidra. 1 skill drain. This comes in against Blackwings and Lightsworn. I didn't play any, but I would have liked this card if I played them, so it was fine. 1 road. This is for the more inexperienced mirror matches where they mindlessly blow up your entire board. Either we have Black Rose, Icarus, Heavy, Mirror Force, or TT, and they just don't play around this card. But against the better players like the finalist Nicola, I didn't put this in because they were just able to play around it by Icarus pop their own like draw trap and then draw a card and just turning this off. But against the people who maybe came from the main event and don't play Edison as much, I wanted a card to win the mirror match because the BV mirror is one of the worst mirrors in the format, because if they go first in open world and sure and you don't have a way to out that, they can easily de-escalate from you being in a good position because they just get so much advantage, and this is a way to come back by punishing them for making an improper play. Transmigration, it was very good against Frogs and other graveyard line decks. Deck Debbie and 2 Oppression. I chose this instead of 2 deck that 1 oppression because I felt oppression was better against both players who aren't playing around it properly, and also against some of the faster decks where you're not able to establish a Sirocco fast enough, like Light Swans, Dragon Turbo for example. But yeah, these cards were great. 2 Dust, mainly for the mirror match to beat Whirlwind, because you gotta stop Whirlwind somehow, otherwise you're losing. And 2 Pulling the Rug for Frogs. So that's it for the profile. Shouts to Ole for wishing you good luck before top 4. I think it helped because I sure as hell drew very good in both of those matches. Shouts to Nicola again for letting me borrow his oversized Kais for the coverage picture for Konami. Hopefully I'll get my actual giant card in soon. And make sure to check out my store on Card Market, Frozen Card Gaming, if you need any Edison or current format cards. I have a lot of high-end and nice cards listed there with high resolution pictures. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.